Welcome to Surviving Wokeland with Ethan Quinn, a channel dedicated to exposing and explaining the ideology driving wokeness. Recently, there has been a concerted and malicious effort from the woke to frame everything that can be linked to white people or Western culture as racist.
All white people are racist. Every single last one of them, all of them are racist.
We have been told that everything, from drinking milk to math, and even protecting your children is racist. And if you disagree with anything that is said, that in itself is racist. White people must just shut up and stand by as race hustlers and racists demean and demonize them.
Dear white women, listen. You're only playing this if you value your life, is to shut the fuck up. Listen exclusively to black, brown, and indigenous women, femmes, and non-men.
But it is not only present-day things that are falling foul of being redefined as racist and problematic. The woke have also decided to rewrite history through the warped lens of critical race theory. In this historical revisionism, there is no concern for truth or accuracy. The only goal is to push the narrative that white people and Western culture have racist origins, and are, therefore, irredeemable.
There will never be black liberation or indigenous sovereignty as long as the United States of America exists. If you want black folks around the globe and in this country liberated, if you want indigenous folks to be able to have sovereignty over the lands that they're indigenous to, then the United States of America needs to cease to exist.
We've seen social media influencers, like this guy, making wild and completely untrue claims about the race of historical figures. For example, he claimed that Napoleon Bonaparte was black. This is blatantly false and easily disproven. Not only did Napoleon commission hundreds of portraits of himself, but there are also thousands of first-hand accounts of Napoleon's appearance, recorded by people who met him in person. There is no factual basis for the claims this race hustler is making, but it doesn't matter. The point is not to be accurate or truthful. The aim is to suggest that white people stole black history, thereby further exacerbating the CRT narrative that white people are oppressors. There are many more examples of these historical revisions, like the BBC's claims that the first Britons were black, which is not at all true. But this woman has come up with one of the most bizarre claims. Just listen to her explain why the phrase, "good morning," is racist.
My guy. So let's talk about where the word good morning originated from. Good morning. Alright, so during slavery times, when the women used to mourn about their child being taken away and sold to a different slave master, or if one of the family members did something that resulted into them getting whipped or killed, most of these things used to happen in the evening time, when a child was sold off or somebody was getting whipped for something. The black women used to cry all night behind it. Not even just the women, the black people in general, all the black slaves, male or female. When something happened to a family member or a close friend or anything, they used to cry all night behind it. And when the slaves used to cry about what happened all night long, the white slave masters, the oppressors, will wake up in the morning time and they'll tell the slaves, "Did you have a good morning?" Basically, did you have a good cry out? Did you do enough crying last night because of what happened to their family member a day prior? So the white oppressors came up with good morning as a mockery towards black people during the slavery times, when they used to cry and mourn and grieve over what happened to somebody when they was whipped or killed or taken off to another plantation. So it was their way to make fun of the black slaves crying that night prior. So they would ask them, "Did you have a good morning? Did you have a good cry?" And they would laugh about it. So that was their way of being funny towards the black slaves when they would cry all night about somebody that was hung, somebody that was killed. That was their way to make fun of them. Y'all know what mourning mean. All they did was take the U off of it, so nobody would think about what it really originated from. It was really a mockery towards black slaves and them making fun of what they did to their people when someone was hung, killed, or sold off to a different plantation. So that was their way of being funny. Did you have a good morning? Did you have a good cry about that person's death? Did you have a good cry about your daughter being taken away from you and sold off somewhere else? Did you have a good cry of your brother being hung yesterday? That was their way of being funny. Good morning, everyone.
The only reason someone would say something this false, stupid, and divisive is to create racial tension and intentionally demonize white people, white history, and Western society. This blatant race hustler didn't even bother to do a second worth of research before making this claim. But facts don't mean anything in woke ideology. You can say whatever you like, if it will cause people to be angry and resentful toward white people. So, is there any truth to this claim? The short answer is no. But let's take a deeper look into the history of the phrase good morning. While the first slaves arrived in America in 1619, good morning had already been in use for hundreds of years by then. 16 years earlier, in 1603, William Shakespeare had used the phrase in his play Measure for Measure, writing, "Good morning to you, fair and gracious daughter." Therefore, the claim is flawed on so many levels. The origin of the phrase good morning has absolutely nothing to do with slavery. Homophones are words that sound the same but had completely different meanings. For example, whole and whole. They sound the same, but whole is a gap or opening, while whole means entire or complete. What this person has done is intentionally conflate the homophones of morning, the period after sunrise and before midday, with mourning, the expression of sorrow for someone's death. These two words have completely different meanings and are not even spelt the same. Good morning has never been spelt as good morning. The morning in the greeting comes from the Old English word morwenning. Over time it was shortened to morrow, and then morning. It has always been a reference to the first part of the day and has never had anything to do with grieving. In fact, white people have been greeting each other this way for over 1,000 years. Long before Americans enslaved people on the plantations, white people were saying good morning to each other in Britain. The phrase comes from Old English and has been used since the 5th century, more than 1,000 years before the first enslaved person arrived in America. Originally, in Old English, it would have been pronounced as "go to Morgan" or "God Morgan." In Middle English, it was pronounced as God Morgan, and finally, as we now know it, good morning. Good morning was not invented in America and has nothing to do with slavery. Likewise, neither do the phrases good afternoon or good evening. Or, for that matter, goodbye, which is a contraction of the phrase God be with ye. So, the next time someone tells you something is racist, perhaps give it a bit of thought before you fall for the race hustling. If people like this want to see something truly racist, all they need to do is approach a mirror. It's time to reject wokeness and the division, anger, and racial tension it is causing. Not everything is racist, but critical race theory, and those pushing it, really are. That's a wrap for today's video. If you found this exploration of wokeness enlightening, please share this video. If you have thoughts or experiences to share, kindly leave a comment below. You can also support this channel by downloading my book, Ministry of Truth: How Propaganda Fuels the Culture War. And please join me every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday as we learn how to survive Wokeland together. Until then, this is Ethan Quinn saying, stay free,